So I just got a new sharpening stone, and it is the ceramic whetstone from Spyderco. It's the medium grit Spyderco ceramic whetstone. Now I kind of have a confession to make because this particular stone is new to me, but the Spyderco medium grit ceramic stone is not a new stone for me. I actually had this exact stone about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I dropped it off a table and it smashed into a million pieces. That's kind of the nature of ceramic stones, is that if you drop them, they break. Actually, that's kind of the nature of all sharpening stones. Just kidding. So I've actually had this stone for a couple days now, and I've sharpened about, I want to say, I think I sharpened, I don't know, 7 to 10 knives on it. I really don't know exactly how many I sharpened. I've been just kind of grabbing them, then redulling them, and then resharpening them. But anyway, 7 to 10 knives have been sharpened on this stone, and it really just kind of reaffirms how I felt about this stone in the first place. So the first thing that I want to point out about the stone, if my camera would focus. Man, what is going on with my camera? So the first thing I want to point out about this stone is that it's expensive. This stone you can buy right now for around $40 to $42, depending on where you buy it from. But if you add in taxes and shipping, you're looking at $50 to $55 by the time it gets to your door. Now, 50 bucks for a stone like this, for any sharpening stone, I think is expensive, but sometimes you do actually get what you pay for. The nice thing about ceramic stones is that they will last practically forever. This stone's extremely hard, and one of the benefits of that is that it doesn't dish out and it stays flat. So again, I've sharpened 7 to 10 knives, somewhere in that range, and the thing is still completely dead flat. Very little wear whatsoever. Now if we contrast that with kind of a more traditional soft water stone, like these Nortons here, king stones are also soft water stones, that same number of knives is going to give you a little bit of dishing, which is going to have to be flattened at some point. Now another benefit of these stones being so hard and being so hard wearing, I don't know what the correct terminology is there, but anyway, these offer excellent feedback when it comes to sharpening. It's really easy to tell on ceramic whether or not you're on your angle, and what I mean by that is that you can tell whether or not the knife is over angled or the knife is under angled, especially if you have a fairly pronounced bevel on there already. They just give really good user feedback. And that's something that I really can't say about soft water stones. Soft water or slurry stones, like king stones, Norton stones, they don't offer the best user feedback, and they can be fairly difficult to use without the proper technique. And it can definitely take longer to learn how to use those type of stones than it will to use these ceramic stones. Now, another downside of these ceramic stones is they don't really come in a very coarse grit. This medium stone is the coarsest grit that Spyderco makes, and I think you're gonna have a hard time finding a ceramic stone like this in a coarser grit. The downside of that is that it's going to be hard to do things like reprofiling. It's also going to be hard to get out things like chips in the blade. Anything that requires removing a lot of metal, it's going to be not impossible, but it's going to be more difficult to do on this stone. So is this going to be a one stone and you're done sharpening system? Well, honestly, it can be. You can reprofile on this, and I actually did a quick reprofile job on this thing, I think yesterday, and it did the job okay. This is a fairly large knife. It's really thick behind the edge, and it had a little bit of waviness going on in the blade, so I tried to fix a little bit of that on this stone, and it did the job. Now that kind of brings me into another downside of this stone, and that's the fact that it loads up with steel. You can probably see all that gray on the stone? That's after sharpening, I think, 5 knives, just kind of bringing them back to sharp. That's not a reprofile amount of material on there. And then this is the clean side. That's the side that hasn't been used. Now there seems to be as many ways of cleaning these things as there is sharpening a knife. The way that I like to clean them, and this is just kind of the way I've done it. I'm sure that there's better ways out there, but I like to use a green Scotch-Brite Pad. You can buy these at Home Depot or hardware store. You can probably even find these at Walmart. And some type of soap. Car wash, you can use dish soap, some type of soap that gets really sudsy. The suds are what you want to kind of get down in there and lift that metal out. It seems to work okay for me. Another thing that I have found that works okay is Brillo pads, the ones with the soap already in the pads. For whatever reason, they seem to do a really good job of cleaning these stones. So let me show you real quick how this looks after I clean it. Before, so that's the that was the dirty side, and that's the clean side that's actually never been used. Now, actually, crazy thing here, check this out. So Spyderco advertises, am I pointing to the right thing? All of our stones are dishwasher and autoclave safe. They're saying that I can put this thing in the dishwasher. Maybe we'll try that. That really makes me nervous though. Yeehaw, it's time to clean our sharpening stone. Alright, now the other nice thing about this stone is that it can be used completely dry. You don't need water to use this stone. Unlike your king stones or your Norton stones, which require like 15 minutes worth of soaking time, and then you got to build up a slurry. If you're just pulling out your knife to put a quick edge on it, this thing's awesome because no water, no mess. You can literally sit down and touch up 5 or 6 knives on your carpeted floor at 6:30 in the morning and be totally fine. I wouldn't try doing that with king stones or Norton stones or any other type of water stone. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what about the buildup? Eventually you will have to get this off of there, but honestly, if you're not doing reprofiling or completely sharpening from scratch, you can probably get about 6 or 7 sharpenings out of this, or 6 or 7 knife touch-ups on this stone without having to get this gunk off of here. So if you're one of those people who's a hard knife user and you want your knife in tip-top shape every day, you want to pull this off the shelf and give it a couple swipes, it's going to take a week or more to get to this point, and then you can just wash it at the end of the week. So that is sort of the scratch pattern. This is 1080 steel, and that's kind of the scratch pattern that you can expect off of this stone. It looks rather coarse in this camera, but this is relatively high magnification. To be quite honest, it actually almost looks like it has a little bit of a polish on it in real life. I'm trying to give you a little bit. See, you can kind of see that little reflection there. It's definitely a medium grit, maybe a medium fine grit. Now, I still have a little bit of work to do on this knife and it's not finished, but that's about what you can expect. The thing here is you want to look at how cleanly it cuts through the paper. And I'd say that that's a pretty clean cut. Alright, so this is EDP 189. Off a stone, stropped a couple of times. This is a paper towel, and this is really hard to do. And if you try this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can see that cut there. To slice a paper towel like that, your knife has to be very sharp. This is probably one of the harder cut tests to do. But this is, again, straight off of this stone, off of a green compound DIY strap. We probably strapped, I don't know, 10 times on each side. And that's about what we can get. Is it the sharpest knife in the entire world? No. In order to get it sharper, we could go through a whole strop progression, and then, take, this is just the medium stone, we could go to the fine and then ultra fine. We could really get this thing insanely sharp, but for one stone and a couple of strappings, it's pretty daggone sharp. So hopefully all of this information is going to help you make the best purchasing decision with your $50, because that's what these things cost. And if you have any questions, ask me down below. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm often asked, what is the best sharpening stone? Now, I'm certainly not an expert in sharpening stones, but what I can say is that that is kind of a bad question, because honestly it comes down to how you plan on using said stone. You have to look at it this way. Ask 10 different people what the best car is, and you're probably going to get 10 different answers. Again, it all comes down to how you plan on using your stone or your car. Skill level has a lot more to do with your ability to sharpen than the stone does. You can get shaving edges off of a brick. Yes, a brick that you build houses and buildings with, if you possess the skill. Every stone is going to be different and have its own uses. The best thing I can say is do a lot of research, compile the information, and make your decision based on what your particular uses are going to be. With that being said, thank you very much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps support the channel. Hit the like button, and I will see you in the next video.